Good morning and welcome to Morning Scoop for Thursday, March 31st. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Moore. The spring game is in 16 days, the Notre Dame game in 156 days, the game against Michigan in 240 days. We got a chance to hear from Ryan Day and both of his coordinators this week as spring ball nears its halfway point. Today, you're going to be hearing from Day and both of his coordinators as well. As always, these clips are courtesy of the Ohio State University Athletics Department. One of the big topics of the day was the move of Cade Stover back to tight end after spending the last few months on defense. So why was that the best move for the team? You'll hear Ryan Day's answer on that, and then a follow-up from our buddy Dave Biddle of Bucknuts.
First off, Cade, I think, always saw himself as a linebacker growing up, and when he came here, and then he put a whole year of work into playing tight end, and the way it played out in the Rose Bowl is we were down some linebackers, and I think when he got over there, he realized that he loves being over there at linebacker because he can play with that edge. So at the end of the day, it was really up to him. We same thing when Steele went over to defense. We want guys to own it, and I think he saw, moving forward, he's got a huge ceiling at tight end. I think when you look at the work he's put in the past year and his skill set, he's got a chance to be a really good tight end. And I think the thing he would tell you is he wants to bring that same defensive mentality to the offense, and he can do that. He's strong, he's powerful, he's really athletic, got really good ball skills. Was a really good high school basketball player. So he's back over at tight end and had a good couple practices.
Entering spring on either side of the ball or anything, what was maybe your biggest concern? I know it's only been 6 practices, but has that been alleviated at all?
What part? Oh, any concerns?
Any concern that you had? What was your maybe biggest concern entering spring, and do you feel better about whatever that was now?
I think it's, first off, you're putting in a new defense, so that's certainly a part of it. And I really have been impressed with the energy over there, with the teaching that's going on. We still have a long way to go, but it's been, for the first 6 practices, we're off to a very good start there. I think the guys are playing with confidence. But also just the physicality that those guys have worked the last 7 weeks to get in better shape. They're stronger, they're more powerful. So that part's good, and they're playing with confidence right now. And just before that, just the other one's the offensive line, just because it's a new coach in there with Coach Fry, and just kind of getting that continuity and depth in the O-line.
We've talked before about the need to balance the physical stuff you need to do, tackling, for instance, with limiting the amount of contact that these guys are taking. So how do you work with a unit like the offensive line in a way that they're getting what they need to get better, but also manage the amount of hits or exposures is what they're calling them, that they're taking during spring ball? You'll hear Day's answer on that, and then a follow-up from Spencer Holbrook of Letterman Row.
We'll tackle some this spring. I think, just philosophically, some of the drills that that have kind of happened over the years, sometimes we can get into bad habits. So we decide we're going to tackle to the ground. We just want to go 11 on 11. And so we'll get a chance to do that. But look, going back to the offensive line, I think, you want to find out, that you have 5 guys, and then you want to find 6, you want to find 7, you want to find 8. And then it's just really a couple things you're looking at. One is, in the run game, can we knock back the line of scrimmage? And can we get physicality and movement? And then in the pass game, firming up the protection. And we're going against very good guys on either side of the ball every day. So you're getting challenged, which is great. I think our defensive line has been challenged in the offense and vice versa. So you just kind of want to see how you stack up against each other every day in practice, how you compete. And I think, guys have a certain amount of talent. We have pretty good talented guys up there, but it's the discipline and skill that you have to create over time. And, we'll look up in another couple of weeks and kind of see where we're at. We're in the middle of it right now. We're asking each guy to, figure out, what are your strengths and weaknesses? What are the things you need to work on? And by the end of each week, have you addressed those things? And then you kind of come up for air and figure out what the next challenge is as an individual. And then as we get closer to preseason, we start to come together a little bit more as a group. But right now, the focus is on getting better individually.
You guys have a lot of continuity on that side of the ball with the coaching staff, but is it almost refreshing to have a new voice in there trying to help lead the run game to where you guys want it to be, since it wasn't exactly where you needed it to be last year?
I think when you look at year in, year out, there's always that balance that you're talking about of continuity and guys understanding where you want to be and the experience, but then also having fresh ideas and a fresh point of view, and a good mix of that is healthy, I think.
Last year's offensive line was made up of 4 guys who were more traditionally tackles, and while that definitely had its benefits, there were questions about whether it might have also had a negative impact in some areas as well. So will getting back to a more traditional line this year with guards like Donovan Jackson and Matt Jones help? You'll hear that, and then a follow-up from Stephen Means of Cleveland.com.
Well, yeah, I think that Paris, is suited best for tackle, but I think Thayer, you'll see him play guard and tackle in the NFL. So I think that was fine, and I thought that Thayer did a good job there, and I think Paris did a good job at guard too. And some of the stretch schemes that we did, he's athletic, and that worked out okay. But having Matt and Donovan in there at guard now, like you said, a little bit of different skill set and just size in there. And so I do think in a perfect world you'd like to have a little bit more squared away, thicker guards to be able to handle some of the bull rushes and things you do against bigger size guys inside. But that doesn't necessarily mean it happens, but that's the idea. And I think those guys are going to give us something inside this year, that's what we're counting on.
You guys use Donovan sometimes as like a 6th offensive lineman. Just what do you guys like about him when you recruited him? Just to talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, Donovan's very athletic. He's very smart. Great young man. And now it's about acquiring that discipline and skill. Skill to play the guard at the highest level, and he can do it. Certainly, he's athletically very, very gifted and very smart, very conscientious. So the more reps he gets, the better he's going to be.
The tight end position is an interesting storyline this spring. They have a ton of guys there: Joe Royer, Sam Hart, G. Scott, Mitch Rossi, Bennett Christian, and now Cade Stover again. But those guys all kind of have different skill sets and areas where they excel. So how has that position group grown and improved this spring? You'll hear that, and then a follow-up from Dan Hope of 11 Warriors.
I think they're all getting better. It's still only 6 practices in, but really it's the same group as we had last year. Mitch is out for the spring, so we don't have him, but it's the same group just minus Ruck, and so the younger guys got to step up and start to continue to build depth in there, and then we got to get a starter in there and get Cade going and get Joe going and get G going and see how they can fit into this thing, but we're not there right now in terms of packages. We're more about just trying to develop individually and trying to figure out what their skill sets are, and then as we start to go closer to the preseason, we start to put those packages together based on the teams we're playing.
Tanner McAllister, he lost his black stripe. What have you seen from him, and are there any other newcomers that have started to catch your eye?
Well, I think first off, what Tanner's done is he understands the defense, almost like a coach out there, kind of like one of those old player coaches out on the field, and he's been able to help guys with that, and his experience really shows up on the field because he can recognize how teams are trying to attack him, and he feels comfortable in this style of defense. Obviously, he's got years of experience in it. Other newcomers, there's a bunch. There's a bunch that have flashed. If I say one, I'm going to forget 2 or 3, and they'll get upset. So I think that hopefully we'll get some more of these black stripes off pretty soon.
Next up is defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, and there are some big expectations for one of his second-year players, JT Tuimoloau, at the defensive end this year. So what has Tuimoloau been able to show so far this spring? You'll hear that, and then a follow-up from Dave Biddle of Bucknuts.
Yeah, I think JT has got great feet, excellent takeoff. His reactions are excellent. Saw him the other day play a zone read against CJ, where he played the dive and the quarterback for negative yards. It was really impressive, really impressive. Just got boom, boom, boom. Quickness with his feet for a big guy. So I've liked everything he's done so far. I think he can be a dominant player.
I'm sure when you were hired here, you knew you were going to be inheriting some really good athletes, a lot of talent. Is it about what you expected, or is it even maybe have even more talent at your disposal than you anticipated?
I think up front, it's been very impressive to me. Changing the line of scrimmage and the rate at which we rush the passer. I think that part of it has been very impressive. The rest is what I expected.
One of the big revelations this week from Knowles was that they're calling the Leo position the Jack, at least for now. So just to remind you, that is the weak side defensive end who will sometimes kind of move around the field to line up. So when you're recruiting to that Jack position, what is Knowles looking for?
I always talk about that short space quickness, ability to disrupt an offensive play, right? Whether you're at linebacker or you're coming off the edge, I'm really looking for guys that can be disruptive. sometimes fit yourself into small spaces, looking for those hips, right? You're looking for the guy who can turn the corner, real fluid in his hips, and can make plays really between the tackles. And you got to be tough, right? You got to have a toughness to you, because sometimes you'll have to play in the A gap, B gap, and sometimes you're going to have to come off the edge.
This is Jim Knowles' first time living in Columbus. He had previously lived in Stillwater, Oklahoma when he was at Oklahoma State, and Durham, North Carolina when he was at Duke. So how is he adjusting to life in Columbus? It's an interesting question, and then the answer, I think, will tell you that he may not have as much free time as you probably do. So you'll hear his answer on his first impressions of Columbus, and then a follow-up from Bill Rabinowitz of the Columbus Dispatch.
I love Columbus. After 4 years, I call it on the plains, life on the plains. Being a city guy, I'm from Philly, so I love the city. Otherwise, I don't know. It's just football, smoke a cigar every now and then. So it's really like there's not that much to adjust to when you're a coach. The way we coach, I mean, you're in here and you're grinding, and your next practice and evaluations and working with the players, and where you're going to go with the installation. So it's you kind of have blinders on, but I do like the city whenever I get out of here.
And you've obviously been around. This is the place where you get more blue chip guys than any place you've been, I'm sure. What's that like for you as a coach to know that, okay, I don't have to just scheme. I mean, I can have players who can just take over games, or at least have the ability to. I mean, do you feel like a kid in a candy store?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I try to keep that in the back of my mind, but I want to keep, at this point, you're right. That's going to be something that will definitely be on my mind as we actually get into a game plan, right? But right now, I want to, push them whatever level they're at. Push them to a higher level, right? Continue to download information, drive them, up the hill, and then just see where we can go, spring and camp and summer, and how much we can learn. I'm not quite thinking about their talent level now, but I will. When it comes to the game plan, you're exactly right. Now all of a sudden you get to look at it and say, okay, what do I need and what I don't need?
As you heard off the top of the show, we are still 156 days away from Ohio State playing a football game that really matters. But, if you look at the back end of the defense, are there guys who Knowles thinks would start if that game was today? You'll hear that, and a couple of follow-ups from Tim May of Letter Monroe.
I mean, I love Ronnie. Heck, man, I think he's got the skill. I think he's got the savvy. I just think he's a great piece in the middle there to run the show back there. I just like the way he plays and handles his business, And then Court, I think, is an excellent leader. We're going to continue to look at him in terms of the matchups that he may face from wide receivers, right? Because anything he needs to improve, it's that. And I got to make sure I put him in good positions. But I know I can go with him. I know I can trust him, and I know that he's going to give everything. And that's a matter of me to put him in the right position, And I think our nickels are really solid, with Tanner, who understands everything about me and the scheme, and with Cam. And Legend's been playing there too. I mean, I think we got some impressive nickel play, But yeah, without Josh, I think we still need to have some other guys step up there at the bandit and adjuster position.
And one other quickie, is there been any time when you've looked across the line, either watching video or watching a play, and you've gone wow about one of those offensive guys? I mean, this caught your eye with this offense. I mean, from CJ to Travion, Jackson, whomever, where you just is one of those guys caught your eye?
It's every day in 7-on-7, like I said, because we're facing such a talented receiver core with great quarterback. 7-on-7 at times can be extremely frustrating, And then. Our quarterback does catch my eye in watching video because, you know, we throw a lot defensively, you know, the things that we do in the structure. And I remember when I was at Ole Miss with Eli Manning, he was the same way in that, you know, the guys that are good, what CJ is, they can diagnose. There's always a soft spot, right? We're trying to diagnose. We're trying to bluff rotations, right, and try to deceive the quarterback and do all those and show one picture and end up in another. And I think he does a great job of just knowing and just figuring that out and getting rid of the ball because there's always a hole, right? And you know, I talked with him today and joked with him, you know, and he likes what we're doing, you know, because it challenges him, I think, you know. I mean, we got a great relationship between the offense and defense here, and Coach Day has really, I mean, I've been fortunate. I've walked into, you know, an unbelievable culture, and there's no egos, and everybody gets along, and we're all working together, and it's not about trying to win the drill. It's we're just trying to get better on offense and defense. So it's that part of it's been fun.
You know, Jack Sawyer talked about this the other day about just the attitude they've had since the halftime of the Rose Bowl on. I'm talking about up front, whatever is. And like you've talked about it a bunch of times here today, it's really interesting that if you get those four guys going, and how much do y'all keep challenging them about what they can be? There were times last year when they weren't that force, you know?
Yeah, I don't know about last year, but I know that, we put in our sack package the other day when we started third downs, you know, which is just the four pass rushers regardless of position. And, you know, it's been just a wave. You know, you see those guys come off the ball, and we're bluffing and disguising around them and blitzing and trying to create one-on-one matchups. And, I mean, you see a surge. You see a surge. That's all I know, and I love what they're doing.
We talked earlier about the jack position. We talked earlier about JT Tuimoloau. So let's put those two things together. Is JT Tuimoloau someone that they might look at for to play that spot? You'll hear that, and then a follow-up from Nathan Baird of Cleveland.com.
I think eventually, yeah, not right now, but I know he's learning it and studying it, and, you know, we may move to that, you know, when we get – ideally, you want the position to become that Leo, but then you have to be able to do both. You got to be able to do everything. So, yeah, I think JT can do it. You know, it's just a matter of who's best and who's best up front also.
And in that group of guys that you've been impressed by up front, where does Teron Vincent fit into that? Because I know the young guys get a lot of attention, but he's a guy who's been around a while and is maybe just starting to realize some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been impressed with Teron. I highlighted him the other day for all the young guys to see. Yeah, here is a veteran. And I highlighted him chasing a receiver down the field, you know, a good 20, 25 yards and coming with a chop, you know, attempt at the ball. And that's just a great example for all the young guys. So I've been impressed with his leadership and his effort. Even though he is a veteran, he gives a lot in practice.
Coaching at Ohio State, you have access to some of the best talent in the entire country. And looking back, Jim Knowles was asked about some of the other players in Ohio State history who, you know, what would they look like in his defense? Chase Young, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa. You know, looking back at Ohio State history, would someone like that, would some of those elite pass rushers of the past, how would they have fit into that jack position? You'll hear his answer on that, and then a follow-up from Doug Lesmerises of Cleveland.com.
If they're that talented, you know, those guys are exceptional in their field. You're not going to mess with them too much. You know, you're just going to let them go and come off the edge. You know, it might be fun, but you got to balance that with what are you taking away from what they do really well. You know.
And then when you're thinking about this jack position, how much is the football acumen part of it, the movement and being able to figure out where they should go, and how much freedom does that jack have moving around on a single play, or do they know exactly where they're supposed to move to because you've told them in this look, in this play, you're going to move to this spot?
Right. The football acumen, football intelligence is really important to be able to read schemes and handle a bunch of information from me. because you're right. I'm going to tell them exactly what to do. That's my job. I'm going to call them into certain things. But, you know, there's a bunch of choices. You know, go here, go to the back, go away from the back, go to the tight end, go away from the tight end, go, you know. So that's all contained within the call, but there's a lot of learning that they have to do. But we want to be able to have all that at your disposal. So I think that's what makes the defense good is my job to fix problems, you know. And that guy can fix problems, you know, because I can call him into whatever I want.
Now on to Kevin Wilson, and as it usually starts with Kevin Wilson, we're going to start up front, that offensive line. Paris Johnson, he's moving to left tackle this year after playing at right guard last year. He has the recruiting pedigree that, you know, suggests that he can excel at that left tackle role. But what kind of challenge has that been to make that kind of move? You'll hear that, and then a follow-up from Dave Biddle at Bucknuts.
I think just out there on that one-on-one, you know, island of pass blocking so much. They played a lot last year, but inside at guard, you know, you got a center help on half the protections if the center's working to you. Now you're out there against probably the premier rusher of every team. I think I saw the other day, if I can believe the NFL draft experts, I think in the first round there's 5 projected first-round DNs that we played against. You know what I mean? And so, you know, that's good on good. And so he's now in a real matchup, a grown matchup that over time now, thankfully, with the guys we got and the way Coach Johnson teaches it, he's going to get a lot of phenomenal work from the one-on-one rush and every time we do team pass and team. So as we grow, it's just getting him comfortable that one-on-one I can play against an elite player. And yeah, I'm an elite talent, but I'm an elite player. And I got CJ's blind spot. So as we go, as he continues to grow and get more comfortable, that'll be a huge part of our offense being good, him being a quality left tackle.
And I'm going to ask about tight end as well. It seems like the numbers are good there now. Are you concerned at all, especially this day and age where guys can transfer without, you know, setting out a year? Are you concerned you might lose a tight end in the transfer portal?
Yeah, I mean, we're always concerned with that with every position. That's a part of it right now. But at the same time, with this team has not been hit a lot because the development that Coach Mick and even the guys that left, the guys that have done the best have been the guys that stayed and gave themselves a chance to develop. And they developed here through Coach Mick and through practice and through the coaching that we have. So, it's going to be hard to keep everybody happy at every position. It's a challenge, but also too, we're not just here to make guys happy. We got to develop and we got to win games. So there's a little bit of give and take. So they got to embrace the competition. They got to embrace the grind. They got to embrace the consistency. They got to embrace the muck and the dirty. And because when you're playing O-line and tight end and running back and spring ball, and you do inside a day for 25 plays, that's grimy. That's dirty. You know, that's not what you see on college football at 9 o'clock when Herb Street fires it up now. Today was college football when you're a college player. And it was period 4 and it was inside. And let's go. And there's 22 people, or there's 18 people up there trying to wear out pads. We're wearing out shoulder pads. And who wants to play, get behind your pads and play football? And the guys that are going to be good, they're going to embrace that. Because those tight ends that are going to be good have to embrace that wherever they're at to be a good tight end. They have to embrace the grind of what it takes to be that block guy. And then when you're in a place like this with Coach Day and the quarterbacks, we'll get you the ball if you command the ball. You embrace the grind. You command the ball. Your career will go your way.
That Rose Bowl game is one that Ohio State fans will probably not forget anytime soon. Fell way behind, dramatic comeback, back and forth battle at the end of the game. Final, walk-off field goal basically with 9 seconds left. Really dramatic game. What was it like, though, to be in the booth, to be on the headsets during that game as the game kind of swung wildly back and forth and so many haymakers from both teams? What were the conversations like on the headset during the ups and downs of that game? I thought this was a really interesting question.
Early when it wasn't going good, and I had been around some teams where we scored a lot of points, but we had a hard time maybe getting stops. I was like, just calm down. They're not. We can block them, and we can get open, and just calm down. Just we got to score again, and let's just score again. And then as we were throwing it so well, it was find a couple runs that we could go with that they didn't tee off on the rush, and the way we protected wasn't very well against our rivals. So to come back against that one defensive end was the Pac-12 D lineman of the year. So to come back and hold up in pass pro was key for that game. We're talking about how good Paris going to be, to hold up in pass pro one-on-one. A part of the keys for Jackson was pass pro was pretty good that day. It was really pretty good that day. And it was against one of the elite rushers, okay? But to me, it was just like, I didn't realize they were down the corners they were. We actually went into the game thinking, okay, we're down a couple of our receivers. We're going to have to play an old slugfest game and keep it close. And all of a sudden you fall down 14 or 17, like, okay, man, we got to lighten up. And all of a sudden we got hot as chicken grease here. We got rolling, and that's a credit to those guys. But credit to pass pro. I mean, Jackson made some plays, and the guy can put the ball on target, and he can see things, he can distribute it. But the pro got going. And I think in a game I think we ended up with like 110 yards rushing. But I think if you count the running plays where we threw the RPO, we had 240 yards of offense. Because sometimes we're running and he was spitting an RPO out. So in the 31 rushes, we had 240 yards of rushing. It was 7-point-something to play every time we had a running play called, because sometimes they're cheating the box and he's got to distribute it a little bit, which he did. So, but my deal that game is let's just calm down. Let's just keep playing. They ran in the third quarter something that they did at Wisconsin-Oregon game, 45-38. They did like a thing on you guys remember on the Jumbotron? I looked at the scoreboard. I said, we're going to beat these guys 45-38. I go, come on, let's get a stop. Let's get a stop. We're going to be on 45-38, so that's close.
CJ Stroud's first season as a starter was one of the more impressive ones in Ohio State history. Started a little slow with a little bit of a shoulder ding. After coming back, after sitting out that Akron game, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the country, Heisman finalist, really record-setting performance against Utah in the Rose Bowl, and now he comes into 2022 as pretty much a prohibitive Heisman favorite. So where has he improved this spring? Where has he gotten better since that record-setting performance in the Rose Bowl?
Be a little bit louder, more command. Last year early, just, you kind of, got a lot going on now. He can still handle the thought process and everything that Coach Day and Coach Dennis wanted to do with reads and progressions and checks. He's more confident, which gives the line a lot more confidence with command presence and calling the plays and marking out cadence, calling for the ball, making IDs. Just the more he plays, the more confident he is, more confident he is, the louder he is, the more assertive that is, and our players feed off of that. Because you can tell the voice, command presence has been pretty good because now he's more, he's not that he's not thinking about the throw, but he's confident in the throw enough. He's not too, sometimes you're thinking so much about that, you can't think about being loud on the snap count. There's a lot of thoughts going on. And when you're thinking a lot, you can't do your job. So the more he's doing it, the more comfortable he's getting. I see him having better command presence. I see him being louder. After plays, he's more, talking to guys about what he likes and sees. That's off the field. But while he's playing, he's more loud, he's more confident, he's more assertive, and it helps the line and the other players play off of that.
We talked about Paris Johnson earlier, but getting the other tackle back, DeJuan Jones, on the other side of that line, that's big. And not just in the way that everything about DeJuan Jones is big. What did it mean to get him back, and where can DeJuan Jones improve this year? You'll hear that, and then a follow-up from Joey Kaufman of the Columbus Dispatch.
It's like Paris. We're talking about his ability to be great one-on-one because those guys get matched up with really good players out there. And when you're playing, again, to me, we're talking about the three positions, the quarterback and the two tackles. When those guys, those are the hardest jobs. That's one of the biggest mismatches on the field. That guy against him. And so as big as he is, as talented as he is, and same with Paris with the talent, their ability to handle one-on-one matchups, grown men on grown men, one-on-one, and be dominant is a huge challenge. And the great players can do that. And the great quarterbacks have the ability to communicate, see, anticipate. And as a coach, the more we can make their jobs easier, the better you're going to be. When those tackles have easy jobs and those quarterbacks have easy jobs, and you can get your scheme, like I'm talking about Jim's scheme defensively, where they can show a lot of looks, but it's easy for them. Really good offenses show you things, but it's easy for us. Really good defenses show you things, but it's easy for them. The more we can make DeJuan's job easy and let him, because he has a talent. Those are two talented tackles. Now they need to become players, and players are consistent guys every day. And we play next year against those 5 top 15, 20 draft picks, which in the Big Ten we're going to get matched up against some great ones. They can hold their own every Saturday, and at the end we can look back and say that was a talented offense because that line showed up and had those matchups every week, and that quarterback sit in the pocket and he could pick them apart because collectively you got a unit. So DeJuan and Paris both have to be great guys that are great one-on-one against some of the premier matchups. And the best thing is we get those matchups in practice. So we get exposed to that on a daily basis.
Would you ever consider flip-flopping DeJuan to the other side, or do you like Paris to left and DeJuan to right?
Because he was there, that's kind of where I think just be for Justin. He can get a handle on that in time if it needs to go that way. But right now we kind of thought that would be the way to go. My thought even a year ago when they were playing guard was if you're in a right-handed stance, you're the next guy playing right tackle. So everything from moving this way now goes to go this way. Some guys are a little bit more comfortable, and sometimes it's the matchups. But one of the best guys I ever coached, Trent Williams, played right tackle in college. It's not like everybody's got to play left. Those are two great ones. and we'll expect them both to get the job done. If we need a flip or if there's a problem, we can move someone. And we got the young guys coming. If we need to, probably get Donovan Jackson if we need to tackle as well. But we'll keep that position. It's not going to be a problem, but that position needs to keep coming along because that is a very challenged position in college football.
Matt Jones looked last summer like he might be in line to win a starting job for 2021, and then he ended up getting bumped out of the starting lineup with him when they went to that 4-tackle lineup instead. So he was still a big contributor last year, and now this year, it sure sounds he's penciled into the lineup already as a potential starter.
He's doing awesome. He's in year 5. I think he got some recognition as an All-Big Ten player last year as the utility guy. So he's not been bad. He's a starter, and he actually is playing very good. He and Donovan, like I say, I think with Luke, we're going to be good inside, and we get those tackles comfortable outside. That front five's got a chance to be really, really good. Really, really good. But Matt Jones has had a tremendous winter, matured, in good health, in good spirits, in good condition. He has a chance to have a really good year. He's doing really well.
We're going to have much more in-depth shows featuring each of these 3 guys individually in the coming days, but I wanted to give you a little cross-section of some of the more interesting stuff that we heard on Tuesday from the coachings. So just give you a little taste of all 3 guys. You'll get a more in-depth Ryan Day show, a more in-depth Kevin Bolson show, and a more in-depth Jim Knowles show coming up over the weekend. So I hope you guys will enjoy those. So if you enjoy those, enjoy all the other stuff we do here on the Morning Scoop, you'll probably enjoy some of our other podcasts. Tony Gerderman and I do the Buckeye Weekly podcast. Alex Gleitman does Around the Oval. Kevin Noon does Big Me Kickoff. Mark Givler and Bill the Bank Green do Gives in the Bank. They're all fantastic shows. I am subscribed to all of them. I listen to all of them, and you should too. Subscribe. Just search Buckeye Scoop wherever you find this show. Subscribe. Leave us a 5-star rating and review, which we do genuinely appreciate because it helps other folks find those shows as well. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.